2004's The Batman was my introduction to the Caped Crusader, and as such, holds a very special place in my heart. For as highly praised as Batman the Animated Series is and the great impact it's had on characters beyond the show, The Batman is my favorite animated Batman show because it was my first. As a kid, these were the definitive versions of these characters and their stories, and defined what Batman would be for me. There's a lot I could talk about when it comes to the show, and believe me, I will. You can bet your ass I'll be returning to this series frequently. But out of everything I could talk about, I've decided to start with one of the series' one and done villains. One that I think could have been used way more than he was, and one that could have some frightening potential. I am, of course, talking about Gearhead. During my preparation for this video, I was surprised to learn that he wasn't an original character from the series. He first appeared in the comics in the late 90s. But since I'm here to focus on the version from The Batman, I didn't dig too much beyond this, and from what I gathered, his backstory is different enough that it doesn't really affect this version of the character. In The Batman, he first appeared as the main villain in the episode RPM. We're introduced to Gearhead after he interrupts a charity race in Gotham and makes off with the winnings. He then proceeds to go on a spree of daring, high-speed robberies until he's outsmarted by Batman. Admittedly, there's not too much to his character, but for a first appearance and for what this character is, that's totally fine. He's a thrill-seeking speed junkie wanting to get rich quick. And honestly, he's not even that malicious. Sure, he does put people in danger and causes a good amount of damage, but compared to a lot of other Batman rogues, he's pretty tame. Even when it looks like he's going to kill or at least severely harm Batgirl, as soon as the opportunity for another high-speed race comes up, he drops everything. That's just not his priority. Instead, it's getting the next rush. And the reality is, the main purpose of this episode was not to give Batman a new, top recurring villain. It was for Batman to get a new Batmobile, and by extension, create a new toy that could be sold. But with all that said, I'm still surprised he didn't get used more than he did. While there wasn't much character development in a single episode, there was a lot of potential in his powers and abilities. For the majority of the story, he appears to be a guy just using some high-tech gear. But later on, it's revealed that he is the technology. He's a cyborg-like being with nanotech enhancements. He can connect to, control, and even alter all sorts of technology. He's able to transform a normal everyday sedan into an unbelievably fast race car. Which is definitely some sci-fi bullshit that we never get an explanation for, but we can just accept as reality in this universe. Actually, within the episode, we get absolutely no explanation for how Gearhead came to be like this. He just shows up, gets defeated, and then disappears, never to be seen again. We don't even know his name. It wasn't until an issue of The Batman Strikes, the official tie-in comic, that we got more backstory on the character. Nathaniel Finch was a hotshot underground racer who ended up in an accident in which he was severely injured. As part of his recovery, he was given these enhancements. Now, as for who gave him these enhancements, he doesn't know. He just woke up one day with new powers and rolled with it. It's not much, but it's definitely more than the episode gave us, and it does answer one important question I had about the character, but I'll dive more into that shortly. Going back to his powers, with how much the world relies on technology, even back in 2004, someone who can directly control and alter any of it is a walking superweapon. Connect him to the right or wrong, depending on your perspective, computer, and he could cause global devastation. The only thing holding him back is that's just not what he wants. As I said earlier, he cares more about getting that next rush than anything else. Even the money he steals is more of a bonus than anything. Now, you could definitely argue that going from robbing bank trucks to destroying the world is quite the leap, and I do agree. What he does within the episode is pretty contained after all. But in the same comic that gave us that brief backstory, we also see him using his powers on a grander scale with a few upgrades. Controlling multiple vehicles at once, controlling an entire train, before he only hacked the security on a train, and now he's able to transform his cybernetic arm into a weapon that can fire lasers. Once again, it appears the only thing that is limiting him is him. So what if someone else got hold of him and his powers? This is where I want to circle back to the big question that his backstory answered. Did he do this to himself, or did someone do this to him? If he did it to himself, then frankly, the man is a genius who could come up with all sorts of grand schemes if he wanted to. He could continuously give himself upgrades until he is at that world level threat. But instead, we got a street racer, someone who is presumably not the brightest. Not to say he's dumb by any means, but certainly not the created advanced nanotechnology level. He was given an incredible gift and decided to waste it on fast cars. And this changes how I think the writers of the show could have used him further in the series. Rather than him returning as a main villain threatening to destroy the city or something, he's now relegated to more of a weapon, or at best, a secondary villain. Which was not unusual for this show by any means. Many villains in the Batman only appeared as cameos or secondary villains outside of their debut episode. But let's run with this idea for a minute. At the end of RPM, we last see Gearhead getting overloaded in the Batmobile. He's presumably then arrested and taken to Arkham. Based on the fact that when he reappears in the comics, he still has his full powers, the GCPD is unable to disarm him in any meaningful way, so he's just sitting in Arkham with his full powers. His crimes were pretty flashy. His stunt at the charity race was very public-facing, so it's safe to assume that other criminals would have heard of him and what he can do. So I ask again, what happens if someone else gets to him and his powers? Based on what we know about the character and his priorities, I think he could pretty easily be manipulated into being part of a bigger scheme. Someone need only present the prospect of a thrill he can't refuse, and he'll drop everything to get it. There are plenty of villains in Gotham who are more than capable of not only manipulating him like that, but finding a way to utilize his powers to the max. For instance, the Riddler or Black Mask. Riddler's schemes always include some high-tech element to them. He and his team are already pretty tech-savvy on their own, but what if they had a tool that gave them absolute access and control of any system they can think of? I dare say the possibilities could be endless. As for Black Mask, organized crime is his bread and butter. Barking orders and getting his way is what he does. He already has access to some pretty impressive resources. For crying out loud, they were able to develop anti-grav technology that allowed them to pick a building up out of the ground and fly it through Gotham City. Imagine what he could accomplish with the ability to access and control security and weapon systems, data banks, anything and everything with an ounce of technology in it. He could become the kingpin of Gotham, and all he needs to do is satisfy Gearhead's lust for a thrill. I shudder to think what someone like the Joker would do with such power. But alas, he was nothing more than a blip in the Batman story. A means to an end for toy manufacturers to create another item that would hopefully end up on children's Christmas lists. Will he become the next big bad of DC? No, probably not. But with our ever-growing reliance on technology, his power and potential only grows. Perhaps he'll find a better place in the near future, or even beyond.